The President of the United States was awake last night, concerned about our law enforcement officers. Pete Hegseth was involved. Everybody was there. What can we do to bring peace? What can we do to bring stability? What do we do when we have guys like Hakeem Jeffries standing up in front of the world and saying it's okay to write kill ICE, it's okay to throw things at law enforcement officers, it's okay to do that? That's not okay, not in America. We have rules, we have laws. When people are murderers and rapists, they have consequences, and we are going to make sure that they face consequences. But those statements put out by Newsom and Karen Bass is absolutely ridiculous, because what we need is action right now. I mean, be people that are leaders for once. And let's not go back to 2020 when they were burning down the city of Minneapolis and you had people like Tim Walz encouraging it. I mean, this has been going on now by Democrat politicians for years, and that's why Donald Trump is in the White House. He's the only guy who fights for every single American. And I'm so proud to work for him. I can't believe it. I can't believe that these dummies in the Democrat Party are still around and getting elected.
Secretary Noem, you talk about consequences. One of the folks involved here was labor union leader David Huerta. Is he going to go to jail? And what kind of penalties could we expect to see for him? And is this the opportunity to send a statement to so-called leaders about what they do with respect to the actual rule of law?
You know, I don't know what the prosecution will be like, because obviously we've got judges out there that are weaponizing the judicial system as well. But yes, I believe that we will press charges against everybody that has broken a law last night, and we should do that. And we'll continue to do our ICE operations. We'll continue to make sure everybody in this country has the law equally applied to them. And these leaders, I don't think we need to make examples out of them. I think we need to make examples out of criminals. And if the leaders are criminals, then they need to face the consequences too. That's just the way this country works, and that's how freedom works. Freedom works when everybody has justice applied equally to them.
So speaking of enforcing the law, Kilargo Garcia has been returned to the United States to face criminal charges for trafficking illegal immigrants into the U.S. after Democrats hailed him as a hero. You know, it really is kind of amazing when you look at those images that we're watching from L.A., and then you think about this guy who has now been charged with human trafficking involving, including children. I can't help but look at all of it through the lens of politics. It's so bad I don't know how Democrats, how they get out of this situation where they're defending this lawlessness, and in particular, defending a guy who has been charged with human trafficking of children.
It wasn't that he just did it. It's that a grand jury said it was his full-time job. Yeah. The guy spent his life trafficking people and children and selling them into slavery. So he's back. He's getting prosecuted. Then he'll be returning back to El Salvador. But the fact that we had Democrat politicians and Van Hollen down there defending him and standing beside him, buying him margaritas, when this guy trafficked children for a living and did it as his full-time job, is just, it shouldn't be shocking. It still is shocking to me that we have people like this that go so far out on a limb just to be a big frickin' deal in a political arena where they think that that actually works. It doesn't work. It's not going to work anymore. The American people are sick of it.
But, you know, Secretary Noem, you look at that, you look at the defense of this guy, even going to El Salvador, a couple of politicians. Why? Why are they doubling down on protecting this illegal immigrant involved with so many horrific things? Why?
You know, I had this conversation with Van Hollen in committee, and he couldn't defend himself. He couldn't defend himself. He kept saying, oh, you didn't give him judicial process. You didn't give him the right to have due process. Absolutely, we did. And you went down there anyways, and went down there and stood beside someone who's a wife beater, a human trafficker, and said that you support that guy. I said, when's the last time you did that for one of your constituents, one of the people who live in your state and actually need your help? When's the last time you fought that hard for those individuals? Instead, because you thought it was political and it would work for you, you went and stood by a criminal, a guy who has abused children his entire life. So the more we educate the American public on what these Democrats are doing, the more they realize they've just abandoned this country. Last night they were burning American flags in the streets in L.A., and the leaders in L.A. let that happen. They were taking American flags and lighting them on fire. Those are not people who love America and people who want justice for everybody. Those are people who are trying to perpetuate violence to promote an agenda. And I saw this in 2020, all across this country where they use fear to control people. And that's what Democrats are doing. They're trying to use fear to control people, and our law enforcement officers, every day when they go to work, they're concerned about losing their lives, and their moms and children and wives are worried about losing their family members, and it's not right. So the fact we have a president that's in the White House that's going to make sure that this isn't going to go on. Every single person that throws a rock or a bottle where we have jurisdiction, they're going to get arrested. They just are. Every single weapon assault, anytime you write something like kill ICE, you are going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent that we have the ability to do that and bring consequences down.
And they're obviously also trying to slow down, halt deportations. Now, Abrego Garcia, if he's convicted, he'll serve his time and then he'll be deported. Is there any world in which what's happening now on the streets of places like L.A. slows down in any way the deportations that the Trump administration is pursuing?
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to slow us down and scare people and officers from doing their jobs, and they're trying to use the judicial courts, ones that they think are more friendly or activists, to slow us down from being able to do the job that the American people want us to do. We're going to do things right. We're going to run our cases, make sure that everybody is afforded the ability that they have to go through a legal process, but we're going to get them out of this country because Joe Biden allowed an invasion to happen of dangerous criminals. And the laws in this country matter. All we are doing is enforcing the law. If these protesters want the laws to change, go talk to your senator. Go talk to your congressman, because we are following the law. If you want the law to change, go talk to Congress, and they should change the law. Don't be throwing rocks and bottles and attacking and punching officers that are just upholding the laws that are in this country and have been here for years.
That's well said. That's how democracy actually works as opposed to a tyranny. Secretary Noem, thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Great to talk to you this morning.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.